when we look at history and when we look at where we have come as not only African Americans or blacks, but where we have come as a society, integral parts of that have been education, have been the study of history, have been the study of math, science, reading, writing. What's happening in our community is not enough of our young girls know our history. And you know the wise adage about if you don't know your past, you're destined to repeat it, or you need to know where you're coming from in order to know where you're going. Not enough of our girls know that. We need to know our history. We need to be engaged and involved in self-education and self-determination. We need to know that Dr. J. Marion Sims, who they call the father of gynecology, was in fact a man who practiced his procedures on slaves. He is considered the father of gynecology. He has a statue. He was the first physician in the United States to have a statue right on 103rd or 105th and 5th Avenue, right next to Central Park. But what he actually did was practice his procedures, which he became famous on African slaves without any anesthesia. We were guinea pigs. We need to know this. This is part of being self-determined and knowing our history. We allow people to tell us who our heroes are. We had a situation in the city council where they didn't want to honor Sonny Carson with a street renaming. Came through the community board, came through the local council member, and it failed at the city council. And what concerns me is not Sonny Carson and the name per se, but what we're saying in terms of our own self-determination, that we can have a statue near Central Park for a man who practiced on African women with no anesthesia, and he's considered the father of gynecology. And if we look around this city and this country, there are monuments. Thomas Jefferson, he sold his own kids into slavery. At what point do we as blacks and as black women get to say what is important to us, what our history is? When do we get to honor those like Angela Davis or Elaine Brown, women who made tremendous strides in terms of self-determination and self-liberation? When do we get to celebrate Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, or Sarah Allen? When do we get to determine who our leaders are? We should know about Sarah Bartman. We should know why she was brought to the UK, London, to be put on exhibition. We need to know these things, and in order for our girls to know it, we need to know it, and we need to teach them. Everything isn't going to happen in a classroom, and it surely isn't going to happen with us sitting our girls in front of a TV and watching a video.
Her name was Sarah Bartman, daughter of South Africa. She went to Europe willingly, thinking she would find riches and fame. They fooled her. In Europe, she found humiliation, forced to be a spectacle because many of them had never seen a naked black woman's body. They nicknamed her Hottentot Venus. They were fascinated by her large, full breasts, big hips, buttocks, and big lips. They stared, touched, and laughed. She couldn't really be human because she didn't look like a white woman. Her skin was the deepest shade of the darkest chocolate. Her hair was a thick black cloud on her head. Doctors and medical students scribbled madly in their medical journals descriptions of her body. She was later sold to a circus where she danced naked for the entertainment of white people. In their mind, her large breasts, buttocks, and her elongated labia made her inferior and oversexed. This justified their inhumane treatment of the black man and the black woman. No longer wanted in the circus, she became a prostitute and later died from loneliness, shame, and disease. She had been in Europe for only 5 years and was only 25 when she died. But her story doesn't end there. Even in death, she wasn't allowed dignity. Europeans were fascinated and obsessed with Sarah Bartman. When she died, they cut out her vagina, her brain, her skeleton, preserved them in jars, and placed them all on display along with a plaster of her actual body. For 160 years, people could walk into a museum, look at Sarah Baartman's vagina, her brain, her skeleton, and see what she looked like naked. In 1974, they took down the display, but they still kept her remains. It wasn't until 2002 that her remains were returned to her homeland and given a long overdue proper burial. Some would say Hottentot Venus, aka Sarah Baartman, was one of the first video vixens. Before television, before radio, Sarah Baartman became the blueprint for degrading and humiliating the black woman on a worldwide level. Sarah, this one is for you. I will not forget you. I will not allow others to forget you. I will make sure our people remember you and know your name.